And then when I put I Think He's Gone Weird out there were so many women that were like, oh my God, I feel like you are writing exactly what I'm thinking.
Hi friend, I'm Lauren Jean. I'm a thinker, babbler, lover of stories and founder of Thinking of Me. Welcome to our first season of Women Only Speakers, where we talk all things empowerment, success, relationships, and above all else, self. I hope you might find a new thread of thought as you listen. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Think of Me podcast. And I'm so excited to have Fenella Fox with us today. This feels very surreal.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not at all. We were just saying before we came on, this is so surreal because we've been following each other, but I've been following you since 2021. And I was like, I can't do a podcast about going from blog to podcast and writing and everything without reaching out. And thank you so much for coming on. Fenella, if you maybe want to introduce yourself and your thoughts of how you came to be doing what you're doing. But just for our listeners, Fenella is a published author. She's a poet. She uses her social media for good and for all things women and that. And I'll let you maybe jump in and kind of share how you classify yourself with the Fox Files brand.
Perfect. So first of all, I actually just want to say this is like surreal because I feel like we've kind of been like online friends in a way, that we kind of been following each other, that now I'm delighted that we're kind of having this chat and everything. So my name's Fenella, as I said, I'm Fenella Fox. So I am a writer and a poet. So I have the blog The Fox Files, and I do poetry there. I released a poetry book last year, Taking Up the Space Between, and I also have a dating blog called I Think He's Gone Weird. So it's all things kind of modern dating and situationships and just relatable content for kind of women in their 20s and 30s, I think.
I love it.
I kind of write for women, I feel. My content is kind of based around me, really. That it's kind of, I guess I'm my target audience in a way, and then I've kind of reached women who are in the same boat.
I love that. And I think that's where the power of it is like when you don't write for anyone else, but you just kind of speak your own truth, it will be heard. And I heard you loud and clear. And I Think He's Gone Weird is where I saw any of your work first. And I was like, oh my God, this is everything. This is all the thoughts. And I always kind of say like everything really stemmed from the question of, is it me or is it the relationship? Am I the weird one or is he the weird one? Things like that. Another new boy. Yeah. And then here was your social media. Instagram is where I started following you. And I was like, oh my God. And it just sparked me back again, I think. So yeah, I definitely agree. You're right for women. When did you pick up the pen? Or sorry, if there's anything there as well.
No, I would say like always, I've loved writing my whole life, ever since I was young and everything. I've just always loved it. So I kind of started the Fox Files when I was still in school.
Okay.
And then it kind of evolved from there, but kind of in school and everything, I always loved it. And yeah, it just kind of evolved. And then I Think He's Gone Weird was on the Fox Files. I would have kind of been writing a bit of kind of dating content. But I Think He's Gone Weird started because in 2020, kind of just around as the lockdown was happening, I went through kind of another situationship ending. Okay. And after that, I was just so fed up and I was like, do you know what? I was like, I'm just sick of men. And I feel like it was all my friends were we'd all be meeting for coffee. And I was like, why are these stories all exactly the same? Like it could have been the same guy that we were all dating or texting and I was like, it can't just be our table. Like it has to be women in general. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to start kind of writing about it. And then it was actually my sister who said to me, why don't you do it as a separate page altogether from the Fox Files? And then that was it. I Think He's Gone Weird was born then. I was like, I'm just going to be really kind of honest with it. And I think that was why it really connected. Yeah. I feel like it's very... I feel like there's kind of a thing to it where when I kind of first started the Fox Files, I feel like it was almost, that thing of kind of people and like people you kind of went to school with and things like that. Whereas I feel like when I started I Think He's Gone Weird, it was a total new audience of women that I felt really free, I guess, if that makes... I don't know if you can kind of relate to that feeling of it was just like I could put out whatever I wanted without kind of feeling, I don't know, it's a strange one, but I think that
Yeah.
was why it connected so well.
No, 100,000%. And that's what you really inspired me. I like you couldn't know this because, as I said, this is the first time we've ever had a chat. And for our listeners, I just cannot emphasize how surreal this feels. But also, your words, Fenella, if you've never checked out the Fox Files, or particularly, I think He's Gone Weird, or purchased the Taking Up the Space Between, you just share so raw and so openly about what it is and not having a fear in doing that. And I get completely where when we have kind of eyes on us and ears on us from family or friends or someone local. I know you're a country gal as well, where
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing where like suddenly your diary is literally open and
Yeah, it is like that. It's a
yeah,
weird feeling.
yeah, no, but so freeing and letting it go. I found that so with the blog. I know, as you say, we've kind of been social friends, but in that great way that only social media can do, where you've never actually met somebody, but we know all each other's ins and outs. The blog I brought over to Instagram in 2021 after following I Think He's Gone Weird, and it was something I had over on Facebook in like 2018, and kind of died a bit of a death in 2019, where I was like, this really is my diary, and that self-consciousness very much kicked in of
Yeah.
I don't know how much of this I do want to be sharing or whichever. And you, and not just you, but also anyone out there who does openly share their story. And I had just started my fitness journey at the same time. So like, no, I think He's Gone Weird has just resonated everything in why I started Thinking of Me blog. And I just said, I have to get back out there. And there is a huge vulnerability in doing that. Like, and before I even start quoting you back to you, what would be maybe an experience you might have had where I suppose that rawness and reality and now kind of promotion, and people kind of seeing and hearing, like, was there any one time that was the strongest kind of a thing for you, that you had a bit of an impact from it? Or I know, because every one of them, every post you share is vulnerable, but yeah, is there any one in particular, any one thought or creative piece that jumps out?
I feel like with I Think He's Gone Weird,
Hmm.
something that really resonated and I feel still resonates now with women is that whole modern situationship and the what are we kind of thing,
Yeah.
and that kind of not knowing where you stand. And I think the thing is, you feel so isolated when you're in that situation and you think, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like there's something wrong with me. And then when I put I Think He's Gone Weird out there were so many women that were like, oh my God, I feel like, they were like, I feel like you are writing exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That I think that was, I don't know, I feel like it's such a strong emotion and it's hard
Yeah.
to explain to almost other generations, I think, because I even
Yeah.
kind of, like my mom would be so supportive of it and everything, but
Yeah,
even
your
like
mom's great. I follow your mom as well, actually. She's like my background supporter too.
she's writing too. She's great, but she's very like some of it she would have been like, I just can't get my head around it, and
Yeah.
like that whole just a different generation of kind of dating and stuff. But I think it was, I just feel like, with maybe sounds deep, but I feel like that was, I had a purpose, that I was meant to do that. I feel like all my experiences were just, they had a greater purpose, that when I started I Think He's Gone Weird, I was like, oh my God, I feel like I was just destined to do this page. I can't explain it. It's really
No, I
weird.
know. I love that, because I don't think anyone, for our friends listening, if you've ever had, I share this like in our trailer, but if you've ever had that moment where something just really clicks and you go, where has this been? Or how have I not realized this before? Or just those big life moments, then I hope you have one soon, because I know exactly what you mean in when that feeling kind of comes and it really surges you forward. Now, I've no children as of yet or anything like that, and I don't think you have that I know, but I can only be related to what you hear people say about mothers and their children, in the sense that you have that just gravitational pull towards it. And I think purpose might be something similar in any way of trying to explain to anyone who hasn't had that feeling, because the strength of it is like
Yeah,
nothing else. So yeah, I do get what you mean for sure
because
and certain.
it was kind of funny then because I have a boyfriend now, so it was
Yeah.
all the chaos ended up working out in the end. It worked out for the best. But like even so when we got together, a lot of people were like, "But why are you still like writing the blog like you have a
Yeah.
boyfriend now?" And I was like, "But I still went through it. Like I can't
Yeah.
just be like to all the girls now. Anyway, you're on your own. I'm out. That was
Yeah.
great. You know, yeah, good luck." Like I still feel really passionately about that because I went through it so much. You
No,
know, it's kind
definitely.
of I just like I said, I feel like I was meant to do that. That I just love it.
And it's getting around, and this is why it's so exciting to do this. It's getting around people that have that kind of mindset. And for anyone listening, you know, when you can turn your mess into a message and then you bring that mission forward, share that. And then if you're doing that every day, I mean, I don't think there's a greater purpose or a greater connection in the time that we have. Genuine. I know that sounds a bit airy fairy, but I,
No, but it's true though. I feel like you're right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I recently had the kind of case where it was, do I go this way or that way? And it was it was, do I choose thinking of me or do I choose more conventional options? And I can't give it up and I won't give it up. And I am very much only getting started with some of the things where, as you kind of said there, when we kind of put veils over it when we're around, you know, other community or other people and we don't really share in a full way, we don't get that message out there. And yeah, you mentioned your boyfriend, and I do want to come back to that. But what do you think the response was like? I know your mom is so supportive, but what, you know, did it ever bother you with what anyone would kind of say, think, share, or not share? You know, as you started to grow.
Um, I kind of knew that would kind of happen. I don't
Mm.
know. I was because as I said about my boyfriend, I feel like when we got together, I was kind of like, "Oh God, I have to put this on the page now." Do you know
Yeah,
that I almost had this thing where people were like, "But you can't do that anymore." Like, and I was like, "Oh my
yeah,
God, now I've got to let them all know." But I don't know why I thought that because all the girls on the page were delighted because that's what we're all complaining about that together anyway. That they were like, "Oh my God, that's great news." And do you know that it was I don't know, it's a funny thing. Is it kind of your own mindset that you think is it people don't care as much as you think they do? Do you
yeah,
know that? And I think with social media now, everyone is so out there. But I think
mm,
everyone who starts anything like that has that same fear of, oh my God, what are they thinking with this or whatever? And it's very hard to put that to the side. But I feel like you have to when you're kind of sharing your own voice because not everyone is going to share the same message if that went very airy fairy there I feel but
no, but like that's what we're here. We're airy fairy people. But it's like it. The thing is you said it there. Like, do I just give up on the girls? You know that. Oh yeah, I've gotten to this point in my life now, and it's like, okay, bye.
yeah.
You just, it's not how it works. You know,
No.
if you do want to pass something down, and as I say, I'm going to start quoting at you because I know you mentioned there about that feeling of, is it in your own head? And you do write about the imposter syndrome, but like,
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start because there's so many, but you say just in the beginning of taking up the space between just in the first few pages, my greatest fear is that time is running out for me to become the woman that I am meant to be. And that sparks at me because for a long time I didn't know what that meant outside of a relationship. And the line of work, like in the like as an educator, and being able to kind of do that now in a different way with social media and kind of flip that on its head with coaching and all that kind of thing. That is and always has been a huge identity for me. But I know I felt that race against the clock with all things being woman and all the timelines and all that kind of thing. So yeah,
I think again is that a kind of another thing with this whole social media generation now where
yeah,
we all feel so under pressure and I know
yeah,
people probably always felt under pressure but I think it's now that there's so much going on all the time that you're absorbing so much.
yeah,
Whereas I'm lately trying to be more kind of in my own mind. I'm like, okay, like I can actually keep evolving all the time. Like there's not one set place that I have to be. Do you know, we're kind of seeing things
yeah,
like it's a checklist, you've got to tick it all off. But I'm like, I can actually just in the morning totally change everything about myself if I wanted to. Do you know, that kind of way? But I think it's like trusting the journey more so than always focusing on that destination, I guess, because where is that destination? I don't know. But that poem, I felt like it really did capture that feeling of, again, I feel like when I meet up with my friends and different women, I feel like they're all experiencing a similar thing, but maybe in different ways. Like I feel like every woman in their life feels like they're maybe kind of behind in some area.
Yeah.
And, you know, for some it might be with relationships, and some it could be in their career, and whatever it is. I feel like it's in a way like the grass is always greener, but I think we're all in the same boat in feeling that we're alone, but we're not.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, definitely. And that's when I really noticed it somewhere there after I'd moved up where I'm living now. And it was like, yeah, I've ticked all the boxes, you know, and it's kind of like, oh, there is something, you know, there is that kind of niggle. So yeah, we do get that, and it does creep in. And then what I really noticed was I was missing an older version of myself, that I hadn't brought some of her along with me. And it was the kind of thing where, God, I'm now nearly too old to be her anymore. But also, where does she still serve me? Because I am
She
still
was,
that person too, you know, and
yeah, she was
your 20s are so
important.
weird for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think. You wrote, I long to be that girl again, the one who didn't need to check her smile for likes. Would you be okay? Maybe like, where did that come from? Do you remember maybe the
That
episode?
again,
Yeah.
would be to do with kind of the social media pressures and everything. I
Yeah.
feel like it's
Okay.
like now it's so we do something and kind of it needs to be shown.
Yeah.
Whereas it was going back to kind of my younger self. Who was I before all this? That when I wasn't like, oh my God, I have so many likes on this, or this didn't get enough likes, or
Yeah.
I'm losing followers, or whatever it may be. I feel like, again, as women, we're very under pressure, that it's everything is moving so constantly. And I feel like it's that real rise of kind of social media and content that sometimes we can feel, I guess, as if we're falling behind again in another way. That it
Yeah.
was kind of reflecting on who I was before all that, before I needed to kind of worry about those kind of things.
No, for definite. And I think you hit it on the head there with like reflection as the thing. And for me, that's where the pen really started to hold up a mirror, but also became a bit of a record. I was never much of a diary one. I do have a diary entry from like junior infants or something, but like, oh, the new boy in the new class, you know, it was like a class ahead. He just like could have come into the school, like country school, you know yourself. And it's like, he's really pretty, you know, and I'm like 6 or 7 or something. It's like, what the fuck, Lauren, you know? But that
I
was
had
like
to
the height
pass
of it.
the journal. Did you ever have that? I remember when I was
I
younger, I had to
wasn't
pass the
allowed
journal.
one. No, I had a little one with a little key, but I remember asking, I don't know if I asked Santi or if I asked for a birthday, but one way or the other, it didn't come. But did you have that one with the where you put the numbers in or where you spoke
It was
into
the
it?
one where it was like you said your password, but like it would keep being like repeat again because it couldn't hear you. So like,
Oh,
and then you'd be
talking
trying to
into
get
one.
into it. Yeah, it was really hard. Like you couldn't get into it, and I think you'd end up just tearing it open in the end. So it wasn't
And
very
broken it,
secretive
yeah.
because anyone could get in.
I was like that. I actually got a little box. I think it was meant to be a money box because I couldn't tell you. It was a Harry Potter yoke anyway. And the same kind of thing. But I was so long trying to get it open one of the days. But sure, it's been battered for years. But in my mind, I was like, nobody can ever get into this. You
By
know?
the time
I'm
you get
not
into it, the
watching.
emotions passed anyway. You're over it then. You're like, I don't need to write it anymore because I've just got over it.
Literally. And that's exactly it. And we did another friend on in this season. And as I said to you before we came on, I'd love if the two of you met because I know we all think the same way when it comes to this kind of thing. But the idea of writing to kind of process the emotion, and where I picked up the pen in that too, but the ability to reflect, see it, kind of go, okay, that is me, that's not me. How can I learn from this? Is this something I can share with someone else that I'm okay with, and put
Yeah.
it out on social media so that someone else knows, hey, you're not the only person who's either experienced this or is thinking this. or is in this situation, whatever it might be, and then go have that ability to remember to kind of go, yeah, no, this is who I am, and bring that back into ourselves as such. And I think that's what I really got from that poem of, the girl I used to be, and before the likes and before the social media and before anyone waiting on you to create, when you just got to create for play and all that kind of thing. That's what I kind of got from that. And I relied on that heavily when I did lose. Like I lost a strong sense of self there, kind of early mid-20s, where it was like, God, who am I at all anymore? But I could still remember the before, and pen then really helped to kind of record that, as such. So
I
yeah,
think as well, I like doing that. Like, I like going back over where I have so many notebooks and journals and stuff. I love going back over old ones, and it's maybe poems that I've never published or anything. And I'll be like, oh my God, like you were really going through it, Or like some I could see and be like, oh my God, like I just love doing it, reflecting on where I've been, because I think again, it's like, what is that quote where they kind of say, like, a few years ago, you would be delighted to be where you are now.
100%,
Like
yeah.
when I look back on some of my older content, I'm like, oh my God. And like it actually then some of it would actually upset me, even with kind of dating and things like that. I'm like, oh my God, it's really sad. But I feel like it's nice to see how I kind of evolved and became the woman that I am now.
Tell me, to circle into the relationship, would you say you're in like a whole new version? Is this a new part of yourself, Fenella, that's like coming out, growing, and being able to kind of share and kind of live outside of the pages a small bit as well? Or is this someone coming back, or what's that whole experience been like? I know you're together a little while now, and
I feel, I feel like in terms of my relationship, the whole thing is new because it's really refreshing now. Not new now because we've been together so long, I feel, but it's refreshing
how long are you
compared
together
to
at this stage?
older kind of relationships. Sorry?
Sorry, how long are you together at this stage?
3 years.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I know it.
Okay.
So I feel like it is all new, and I actually feel like in myself, I'm kind of trying a new thing lately where I'm trying to be more confident with things, and because I'd be a very anxious person, and I actually feel like he really grounds me. That I'm very what would be the word for it? I don't know, just I'd worry about things and overthink things, and then I'd kind of be like to him, and what if this happens? And then he's like, I'd say it'd be fine, like that won't happen. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Do you know? I feel like he's a real grounding energy that I do feel like it's I guess it's like a new chapter in a way. But I feel like again, I've evolved into a different woman, and when I go back over all my old writing, I kind of see it that I'm like, oh, like kind of the innocence, I guess, in other ways for different things. And it's nice, and I feel proud of me. I feel like it's good.
No, for definite. And that's the excitement, I think, when we know that we're in a new chapter and there's nothing that's kind of not even stopping us, but I suppose to kind of explain where my thoughts there are is I know my project. So I got the idea for what it is I want to get out there in a written form. When I got that, it was everything made sense. Like all my previous writing, all my current life situation, all the relationships, as I call it, the golden thread that kind of weaves herself through, and it is a her, the golden thread, which is relationships that weaves itself through the mother cloud of going, Lauren, you're going through some of the same patterns and all that kind of stuff. I wrote it as such and then went, oh my God, I am stone cold insane. The writing process drove me genuinely a little bit insane of trying to piece it together. And I just consciously knew I actually need to go write the new story before I can do anything with that. Just as a rule of thumb, I don't like sharing if I'm not okay with kind of, if I haven't really processed all that and everything else. And would you say, what was it like writing, taking up the space between and kind of seeing some of all those previous hard pieces of yourself
I
on
feel
paper?
like very empowering. I feel like just when I saw the book first altogether as a whole, I was kind of like, oh my God, like it was just so, I don't know. I just felt like it was a message that needed to be out there.
Yeah.
And I just feel like again, they're all from kind of different stages of my life and different
Mhm.
poems from different times. But when I see them all together, I just feel really empowered reading. I feel like even when I share them, I just think I hope this does empower someone. Like I feel like it must connect with someone kind of at a certain time maybe. And it was also weird though to see it all put together that I was just like, this is I can't believe I wrote this much. Do you know that kind of a way?
No, for sure. And for our friends listening, you know, this will be out before Christmas season, and any time of year, it's a great time to be able to pick it up. Now, I have my post-it notes on mine. It was just some to kind of share with you today, but it's just one of those kind of comfort ones that you can have close by. And as you say, I think with any good writing and any good story, good writing comes from good stories, and good stories come from experience. And when you have something that you can kind of just easily kind of pick up and go, there's a friend who's actually shared their life with me to kind of say, you're not alone. Books like
I
that or pieces like that. And whether it's the quotes, I know you also do the artwork paintings, you know, anything like that.
I I think
Sharing
as
the
well.
human experience. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I think it's I don't know, am I cutting off here? Sorry.
You're all good. No, I think you're okay.
Sorry, you've just
We
frozen
love
on me there.
a bit of tech.
Um
This is a whole learning experience.
Sorry. Yeah. Nope. Okay, I'm good, I think. Yeah, sorry. It just froze there.
Don't
Um I think is where I've lost my train of thought there. What was I going to say on that note? Oh, I remember now. Sorry. I think as well what I liked was where a lot of the poems are short ones. I wanted it to be that kind of a thing that you could pick it up when you needed to
yeah,
and you could fold down certain pages, that it wasn't a thing that when you pick it up you feel, oh, I need to read this all the way through now,
yeah,
that you could kind of have poems that you folded down that at certain times you just think, oh, I just need to read that one tonight, or
yeah.
it's just something that maybe one day you read the book and it kind of doesn't connect, and then maybe a year down the line you come across a page and think, oh my God, that one really connects with me now but it didn't before.
Yeah, no, for definite. And that's where the stages of growth, I think, really are. There's one other one I just had to kind of, as I say, quote back to you today. And I love the concept always of seasons. And as we grow, what I've learned is the hard way. You can't keep going, you know, and I'd be a devil for that. I would kind of want everything done yesterday sometimes. And I had a bit of a season where it was like, okay, I don't have time to eat or sleep. I'll do that when I'm dead, you know, but then it's also like, I'm not a robot. I do actually need to kind of, you know, so what I mean is
Yeah.
the word seasons for me is, and the plant pot of where I've been living, I always kind of say you need to kind of de-weed and water and tend it all at the same time. You know, it's not the case that it's continual. So yeah, I think
I
noticing
think
your seasons are great.
I think as well, when you're kind of dealing with kind of emotions and thoughts and things like that, it
Mm-hmm.
can be very hard to keep go, go, go all the time. I do feel
Yeah.
like you need that downtime, and you're the same with what you do. I feel like it can be intense once you're around it all the time, that sometimes you just need to be able to step back from it. And I think that's okay as well.
No, for sure. For sure. And as you say, like in your 20s and 30s, as you said, some of your target females that do follow your work, and our friends listening will be the same. It you find new parts of yourself and you leave other parts of yourself behind in that kind of timeline of life. And the one that really kind of sticks with me is, it took seasons to shed him. Blossom on trees turned to snow. This time I won't water the feeling. It is only that I shall grow. I don't know who he was, but I think we've all had him at
Yeah,
least once, or a couple of
unfortunately.
them, where where and this is not the case, and I really hope that comes across to anyone listening, male and female. It's not the case, I've learned, that they, as the man, is necessarily intending to cause us to go through so much nearly like square peg round hole. You know, that we have to kind of shave and shape and tend and grow, and and lose our minds in the whole process. I actually do think it's a part of becoming a woman, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping to share with the mother cloud. But yeah, so as I say, I don't know who he is. We've all had him at least once or twice where in letting him go, I don't think men realize how much it shapes who we will or won't be. And I'm wondering, was that one singular experience? And you don't obviously not to share someone else's story, but
I feel like it was kind of that thing of dwelling as well on something. Do you know, it was kind of, again, I feel like we've all had that situation, but I feel like with that one, it was a really big thing of letting go. And I kind of feel like writing that down was just so therapeutic in itself that it was kind of, I feel like I was almost telling myself that, do you know, that kind of way? And that's kind of a theme through a lot of my poems. But again, I think as you're saying, we need that as women because I really do think it shapes us. And I feel like different experiences we go through, and even if like they could be awful at the time and like your heart would just go through it and it's horrible,
yeah,
but I think, like, as I was saying earlier, I feel like there's a purpose for it that now I look back on certain things and I'm like, oh, that was why there was that trauma. Okay, like, great. Do you know?
what would be one thing you'd say to someone who's in the depths of it at the minute, of that change season or that breakup, or not knowing really where her next step is?
I think I would now, again, not everyone believes this. This is just my own
Yeah,
beliefs. I believe everything does happen for a reason. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I feel like when you're going through that, it's kind of, I feel like that can be hope in another way because
yeah,
you kind of need something to get you through that. Like when you're going through a heartbreak or something, it's those first initial days of going through something and you're just, I'm sure you can relate, like so many, yeah, women can relate. It's, you need something to get you through. And I feel like it's very easy for kind of other people to say, you'll be fine and, you know, you'll get
yeah,
over it. But you're the one in it,
yeah,
but you will, everything does happen for a reason. And I just think you will be okay, even though again they're going to be thinking, everyone says that, but you will.
yeah,
But it's just take each day and kind of over time you do heal from it. I feel like at the start you're like, oh my god, I'm never going to heal from this, but over time it's almost like you don't really notice it, and then one day you kind of just wake up and you're like, whoa, that didn't affect me as much as I thought it would, or something could happen. And I kind of had that experience happen before where it was that light bulb moment where I was like, oh my God, this isn't hurting like it normally would or like it should. And
yeah,
I was like, I think I'm healing. Like,
yeah.
you know?
No, for definite. And I love that because you do have to go through it to, the only way out is through, So, and that's no good at the time, but it is better on the other side.
Yeah.
And as I say, when I was kind of writing my experience, that brought about me understanding what I call the clouds, and me understanding like where some of the broken thoughts and the question of what kind of woman do I want to be and all that kind of thing started to become clear. It's really only this year that I think I had that little moment for the first time in a long time where it was, oh, I'm in the sun again. That
Yeah.
like I am actually quite past this. And that's not to say that we don't carry and live with a lot of the experience, whether it's one or many, that don't work out. But when you are through it, as I say, and you can kind of look back and kind of say, wow, that was a minute,
And I think as well, you kind of think it's going to be real chaotic for the whole time. Whereas I feel
yeah,
like then once you're at that stage where you can look back, you kind of think, oh, that just kind of naturally evolved into my
yeah,
everyday life. It wasn't, whereas at the time, it's like the end of the world. But
yeah,
then over time, as you just keep living and you kind of keep doing your thing,
yeah.
it it becomes less of a major thing, which
That's
again is
open to the
probably in a
future.
poem somewhere in the book.
No, for sure. I don't have one just right on hand, but it's definitely knowing that you can have a different future, and being open to those moments. Like if I wasn't kind of ready and open for some of the things that have happened this year, in the case of like, the word organic I know is so trendy, but you know, there are organic experiences out there if you can settle in a way. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, and that can't happen, I don't think, until you really kind of put to bed whatever it was, whether it was you or whether it was them, and that's my thoughts anyway.
And I think, again, it just shows that we all go through it. As you were saying, I feel like our views on this are the same. So I feel like it shows, again, that so many people have been through it. And if you are going through it, you're not alone. People have been through it, and we are at the other side, and it's good.
It is. It's good. Fenella, what is your stress management plan? Whether it's through a breakup, whether it's through life, what would be your top tips for dealing with stress?
My oh God, I don't know. Am I the right person to ask? I would say a notebook for me, like the amount of notebook. Honestly, I feel like my stress relief is writing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because then that's probably a thing that is stressing me out in another way, because then I have things to do. But it just, I need to write the emotions down, and that is how I deal with them. And yeah, that would be, I just feel like even if no one ever sees it, it's just nice to kind of get it down on paper.
100%. And actually, that would be a nice place to kind of tie all this, is where do you find the difference now as you found that, and since you found writing as your main work and your main purpose, to writing just for you and just for stress or for creativity? Did you ever have a clash with that, or how have you kind of managed kind of differentiating between the two?
Not really. I wouldn't say I had a clash with it, because I feel like I just get this feeling sometimes where I just need to write something, and it could honestly come in the middle of the night that I'd be like, I need to write this. And then I'll kind of know if it's something that it's just scribbled, just nothingness, or if it's something that I think, hang on a minute, this actually could be a good one to bring to the blog, or could be evolved into some sort of content. So yeah, I feel like my life is a constant state of just writing stress, basically. It's great. I love it.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing your stress and your journey. Because as you say, I think, you know, there's a great quote out there that like, we're the crazy ones. And I know I'm misquoting, but they'll make the statues of us. You know, they don't make them of the normal people. I don't know. I'm not saying there'll be statues anytime soon knocking around, but there is books
you never know.
and blogs out there. So for any of our friends who have enjoyed listening to how we manage our stress, and Fenella's sharing of her words, her feelings, her raw life and relationships, you can go to her Instagram and TikTok follow the Fox Files. And of course, I Think He's Gone Weird, which, as I say, really brought Thinking of Me back to life. And for that, I don't know how to say thanks. I hope we'll continue to share the journey, because I love watching you grow, and I very much do have you to thank for being here, genuinely, at this point. So I hope this has been so fun.
Oh no, I was delighted to be here, honestly. I feel like it was so nice to chat and everything, and I feel like we have similar journeys, so it's really nice to chat about it all. And yeah,
for definite. And
thank you so much.
The only way is up. So thanks, Fenella, for coming on, and sure, we'll keep looped, and we'll see what the next 6 months, 12 months have in store. Thanks, friend, for listening to the Thinking of Me podcast. I hope you found something within our story today that lands for you. You can keep up with us on Thinking of Me blog, Thinking of Me Coaching, and Lauren Jean on socials. Go to thinkingofmecoaching.com/checklist for your checklist for self-fulfillment. Until our next chat, talk soon, my friend.